Hello, my name is Linda McAnany, and welcome to my show. My guest today is Heather Gieck. She's the founder and the executive director of the Healing House and New Beginnings. That's a wonderful, relatively new organization in our community, and it's my great pleasure to have Heather with me today. And thank you for joining me, and thanks for appearing. I know you're a busy lady, especially this time of the year.
Thank you for asking me.
Heather, the Healing House and New Beginnings, and from now on I'm going to call it the Healing House, is a relatively new organization. It's not been in existence more than about a year and a half. Before we get into its mission and talk about it, I want to hear about you. Tell our audience about you.
My name is Heather Gieck, and I am the founder, executive director of the Healing House and New Beginnings. I am also a recovered alcoholic and addict, and I spent most of my life in addiction, and it's because of that I decided that I wanted to help other women like myself overcome.
That addiction.
Yes.
And so that's what inspired you to do so. Is that correct? Is being able to recover and go forward with your life?
Yes, as a result of my addiction, I ended up in prison. And so it's through prison that I developed a relationship with the living God. And my heart was changed through His Word and by His Spirit. And then I came out of prison knowing that I could not come back home to Jefferson City right away. And so I went to a place called Church Army Branson, which is now known as CORE, or Communities of Recovery. And it's there that I learned how to apply the 12-step spiritual nature to my life. And I commenced that program after a year, gave 2 more years of my life back, running a women's house, mentoring women, presenting classes, and then it was time for me to come back to Jefferson City. And it's because of that life change that I experienced. It's really because of a heart change that I experienced a life change. And because of that life change, I desired to give my life back to helping women just like myself.
With a very strong faith.
Yes.
I know you have that.
Yes.
What is the mission of the Healing House?
The mission of the Healing House is to rebuild shattered lives through a program of action by teaching spiritual principles which are rooted and grounded in the living Word. Yes.
So basically, you are helping those who come out of the same environment that you did to overcome the addiction?
Yes.
And to do it in a faithful manner. Is that kind of my version of the mission?
To do it in a Christ-centered environment. And I think that that's what makes the difference.
Who do you serve right now?
What do you mean?
Well, who are some of the backgrounds of some of the people who are there? Are they mostly those who followed you?
The population?
Yes,
The population that I serve are usually women that come out of either the correctional facilities, jails, treatment centers, things of that nature. And the one thing that we all have in common is that they either suffer from alcoholism or drug addiction. And they're women coming back into the community already. We serve the same area as the United Way, and so they're women coming back into the Central Missouri area, and I mean, whether the community likes it or not, they're coming back, and they need a safe place for those who really desire a changed way of life. They need a safe place, a structured environment in which to learn how to live differently, and that's what the Healing House provides.
What are some of the services that you provide for these women and that they receive and are most of them living there, or do they visit, or how does that work as well?
The women of the Healing House program, they live there for a year. They commit 1 year of their lives to change. Okay. And so they move in, we all live together. I'm also the house manager, the case manager, the transportation person, and anything else that I need to be for those ladies. And then the services that we provide are recovery classes, spirituality classes, and life skills classes. They work during the day, and then in the evening time we have classes Monday through Friday from 6 until 8 p.m. and they're all mandatory. So, and then on Sunday, if you're not working, then you go to church. And so we all just learn how to live together. When they first come in, we get them hooked up with a variety of community resources, find out what their needs are, and then we try to meet those needs.
And some of those resources in the community, give us a couple of examples.
Common Ground has been a huge asset to the Healing House and New Beginnings. Kristen Hilty, she provides us with bus passes and glasses for some of the women coming in. They need glasses. They've either lost them, misplaced them, broke them, whatever the case may be.
Or maybe never had them.
Or maybe never had them, and she has helped provide a couple different sets of glasses for different ladies, and just a variety of different resources through them. We also, the program is, I'm going to forget the name of it, but they provide the dry goods, so like paper towels, napkins, toiletry items, things of that nature. And they are also, the First United Methodist Church is affiliated with that. They actually fund that program, I think, and so we also are receivers of that program as
now,
well.
Common Ground is with the, which church? Is it the First?
It's First United Methodist Church.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
I know it's a wonderful program and has provided many opportunities for people within the community, so that's great.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the changes that you see on a regular basis with women who start out certainly deep in concern and trouble and then work through.
They come in pretty rough. They come in sometimes pretty rough in appearance. They come in rough with their hearts torn to pieces. They come in rough with their language. But the women that are serious about the program and have a sincere desire to change, it doesn't take very long for them to fall in. And, you know, I've noticed a change in the outlook, the way they see life. I've noticed a change in the way they speak, in the way they carry themselves, how they present themselves, the way they dress. I mean, it's just, but one of the most significant change that I see is that heart change. Mm-hmm. And it's from that change that everything else about them begins to change.
And do you see, as you see them changing, do you look back and say, I did the same?
Absolutely.
I was changing as they changed.
Yeah, absolutely. And in their change, I also get tremendous growth. I mean, in leading and guiding these women, one of the things that I learned out in Church Army was that you must first learn how to serve before you can lead. And I did that down there. And then as I'm serving these women by leading them, I get as much growth as they do, I think. And I get to see a lot about myself that I probably wouldn't get to see given certain circumstances and situations. And I get to see in them, I get a clear, I guess, understanding, and not that I didn't have it before, but when I look at them and I watch them growing and I watch them changing and I see God doing for them what they cannot do for themselves, and it's a reflection of what He did for me, and it just gives you that motivation to just want to keep going and going and going.
Absolutely, yeah. I can imagine. You mentioned Church Army, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yes. Just take about a minute and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, Church Army is a faith-based 12-step recovery program in Branson, Missouri, but it's now known as CORE, C-O-R-E, Communities of Recovery. And what they do down there is this exact same thing. In fact, in a lot of areas of my program, I replicated their program. And then what I did from that is I kind of changed some things that I saw didn't really work as far as structure and things like that. Mm-hmm. But they're a wonderful program down there that house men and women, teach them a different way of life. And the people who actually run that program are leaders who have experienced the solution as a result of what they teach, and they've given their lives back. So it's really beautiful.
So it is truly about faith and service.
Yes.
You said service is a very important part of that. I know you're soon to have an open house, and I want to hear a little bit about that, celebrating the success of some of the women of the Healing House. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that open house. It's coming up relatively quickly.
Yes, the open house is coming up Saturday, October 15th. It'll be from 12 until 3. We will have food at the open house. We'll have a raffle, but the best thing that we're going to have is a testimony or testimonies of the ladies of the house, and they're going to be letting the public know why they came to the Healing House, why they chose the Healing House, and what the Healing House has given to them since they've been there, what they've learned. And the other thing that we're going to be doing at the open house is we're going to be breaking in a new men's house house that's coming in. It's called the Koinonia House, and it'll be starting up the summer of 2017. And so we're going to use that as a platform as well to kind of let the public know about that.
Very good. And for those of you who may be viewing this after the date of this, please know that it's a wonderful opportunity to have a better understanding of what the Healing House does. And perhaps they will be having it on an annual basis, which will give you a chance to visit it. And by the way, I should mention, if you have more questions about the Healing House or want to know more about this wonderful organization, you can call 417-559-7068, or you can visit the healinghouseandnewbeginnings.org, and we'll have that up on the screen very soon. So it's a good opportunity to learn more. And by the way, they have a great Facebook page as well, so you can learn in all kinds of ways. One thing that I want to talk about in our second segment is a little bit about how the importance of the success of these people, of these women, helps their families. But before we do that, how do you get your funding? What is your funding mechanism?
We're not state funded or federally funded, so the women pay program fees, and those program fees go to help sustain the house, and then donations.
Okay, so
Yes.
I mean, you're self-funding right now.
Yes.
Are you a 501c3 or you're a charitable organization?
We are a 501c3,
Okay,
yes.
so anyone giving to the Healing House a donation, you can get it off your taxes. And I know that's not your reason for doing so, but keep that in mind. I think we're going to take a break right now, and when we come back, I want to hear a little bit more about, as I said, the importance of this organization, your organization, on the women and their families when they have children. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Lead paint poisoning affects over 1 million children today. If your home was built before 1978, call or log on.
When you open a book, a whole new world comes to life. And you just never know who you're going to meet.
Bah, humbug.
Read a book and experience the wonder. Discover the fun and become part of something magical.
What's happening?
Read A Christmas Carol and other books online. Go to read.gov. Explore new worlds. Read.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. My guest today is Heather Gieck. She is the founder and the executive director of the Healing House and New Beginnings right here in Jefferson City. And Heather, as I said before, thank you for appearing, but more importantly, thank you for your passion about this wonderful opportunity for women who are in recovery, and your help and your faith in helping them get there. We mentioned earlier about the upcoming open house, and I think it's a good opportunity for our audience to learn more about and to visit the location. And by the way, the location is
1418 West Main Street, Jefferson City, Missouri.
1418 West Main. Very good. And you'll learn that in the Facebook page and also on the website. But how important is this recovery opportunity, not only for the women, but for their children? You mentioned the children and as an opportunity as well.
It's huge. When the mother's hearts get changed, then the children's hearts will follow. For a lot of us, what I know for sure from my own experience, from being in prison and having relationship with the women there, and then from the studies that I did while I was in college too, is that women who suffer from substance use disorder and find themselves in prison usually have some traumatic events in their background, and those traumatic events go back to their childhood. And so what we find from these women is that this can be a revolving door. So they grew up in dysfunction, they raise their children in dysfunction, their children grow up to be addicts and alcoholics, and so it's this revolving circle. And so the women at the Healing House the first thing is that they lay a solid foundation for their life, so that they can then go back into their children's lives, re-enter into their children's lives, and be the mothers that God called them to be from the beginning. And then those children's lives will be changed, because children need stability, and they need security, and they need nurturing, and they need love. And when you are selfish and self-centered and self-seeking, you do not give those things to your children, because the only person you're worried about is you. And so these women have an opportunity to not only learn to love, but to receive God's love, which then abounds within them, and they begin to learn how to, manifest that love or work that love out in their daily lives. And so their children get the opportunity. The women at the Healing House in New Beginnings, they get an opportunity after they've been there for about 4 months to have the kids one weekend out of the month to have their children over, to have an overnight
so
visit.
they can visit with them.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
That's great. I wondered if they were able to stay or able to see them or what, but they can on a monthly basis see their children. Yes. And one of the ingredients to your upcoming event is the fact that you are looking for perhaps some funding for children's care, or
we're looking for funding. Everything that that is brought in by the open house event is going to be used for the aftercare program. Okay. The women have to have a place to go, like a second step from the Healing House. The Healing House is a pretty secured and disciplined environment, and so they need to step out from that. And everything that's raised at the open house will be used for the aftercare program that we're going to establish.
Okay. And you said that the women stay there for a year.
Yes.
And then is there almost like a graduation? Is that becomes the next step?
Yeah, it's a commencement ceremony that we have. Our first commencement ceremony is coming up a week after the open house, and then we have 2 more women that'll be commencing at the beginning of December, and then we have a few women that'll be commencing in spring. So,
how many women are currently at the house?
The house holds 7 women.
7.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Okay, let's talk. I think volunteers play an important part with any organization, and certainly with charitable organizations. Do you use volunteers?
I do use volunteers. I will tell you, because I am one person, it's difficult, and I do such a variety of different tasks around the house. But we do have people coming in from the community that either sit in on some classes or present some classes, mostly spirituality. I've got somebody who comes in and they'll rotate doing a spirituality class. But right now, I mostly do everything. It takes time to show somebody exactly how to do and to get them in there to do it. So we're looking at a time when I can, when I'll have the time to train somebody in that area. One of the leaders that we're going to have coming up in the program, hopefully is going to be one of the ladies that's in the program, and she will, hopefully I'm grooming her to become a house manager at some point in time, which will alleviate some of my daily duties and open me up to be able to train some volunteers. But I have lots of people wanting to volunteer, to get involved, yes.
How do you do it all, though? How do you do it all? Now, I'm thinking running a charitable organization, which there's some things that come with that, and raising money and doing all the other things. You have got to be a committed person, and obviously Heather's a committed person, but it's got to take a tremendous amount of your life.
It does take a tremendous amount of my life, and God's grace, and I have some excellent board members, and I have just integrated my family into the Healing House. People say, well, don't you ever take any time for yourself? And I mean, it's my life. It's not a 9-to-5 job for me. This is my life. This is what I do. This is what God called me to do. And so I incorporate my children, my grandchildren, my mother, my grandfather. They just all are incorporated into the Healing House. She's too young to have
grandchildren, I'm telling you. That's wonderful, though, because that is an opportunity for you to show them your passion and the woman you've become as well. So what what can our community do for the Healing House?
Well, honestly, we need community involvement in the area of funds. One of the things that I didn't tell you, and you didn't ask, was that one of our secondary goals, the first goal is to get the house established, right? And then we need to establish an aftercare program, which is a smaller goal. And then a bigger goal that I'm working towards is I want to establish a restaurant. I'm looking at probably the end of 2018, but that will provide a place for the women to work, get some skills, job history underneath their belt, and then it'll also provide a generated income that we can begin to be self-supporting. And so we're not relying on people per se. I mean, of course, we want people to be involved,
sure,
but that we can be self-supporting in and of ourselves. And so that's like the end goal that we're looking towards. So right now we need community support in the area of financial. It takes money to help people.
Oh, absolutely.
I committed my life. I bought the house myself. I signed 30 years of my life away to the house, and I've given every ounce of my being to what I'm doing here. One of my main goals when I came back to Jefferson City, it was very important for me to give back to my community because I spent most of my life in addiction. I felt like I had taken so much from my community. And so this is my way of giving back. And so, if we can get some community support in the area of finances, that would be great. At a little bit later time when we can get some community volunteers in there, that's going to be wonderful. There's things like toilet paper, paper towels, things like that people could donate. Unilever has been very kind in giving us the shampoo, conditioner, body wash, body soap, things like that. So the women, when they come in, they don't have a tremendous amount of things they have to provide to themselves. To themselves, because a lot of them come in, Linda, and they're and I know that it's their own fault, trust me. I was in the same boat, but they're looking at their wages being garnished for child support, and wages being garnished for other different reasons that they haven't paid different bills. So they're coming in trying to make their way, and they're over the top sometimes, looking like, how am I going to do this? How is this going to work? And so some of the ways that places like churches or things like that could help support us is when some of these women come in and their program fees until they find a job, they kind of add up. And so we look for a way to alleviate that. First Presbyterian has helped us, Memorial Baptist has helped us, House of Prayer has helped us, and just taken some of that burden off some of the ladies in the beginning initially.
Right.
Yes.
And when you say program fees, as you mentioned, there are some expenses that these women will incur as they come into the home.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Program fees, and that's one way of them investing into their own life, but they do incur the fees, and they are not able to pay them until they're able to get a job and then get their first paycheck. So sometimes they're looking at being $400 or $500 in the hole from the start.
Right.
But we don't ever want to deny somebody because they don't have the money to come in.
Absolutely.
And so we let them come in anyway.
Absolutely. It's amazing what you've done, and a year and a half is that basically?
Yeah.
It was in spring of 2015, correct?
Yes.
That's amazing what you've done over a very short period, but it's also amazing the difference you are making in people's lives. We're so fortunate to have you. Now tell us very briefly about the men's house that's coming here.
The men's house is called the Koinonia House, and that means fellowship. It's going to be structured after the Healing House and New Beginnings, so it'll be a very structured, disciplined environment. It'll also be Christ-centered. It'll house men. We're looking at 7 to 8 men, and they will be men coming out of prison. I think it'll be solely men coming out of prison. And then they will be taught just like the women at the Healing House are taught. So they'll have classes Monday through Friday from 6 until 8 p.m. They'll work during the day.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I know that that will be a subject as that comes forward, as that men's house comes forward. It'll be a subject of our program. And I've already talked to a couple of pastors in town who are working and volunteers who are working with that. And it's just a wonderful opportunity, just as the Healing House and New Beginnings is a wonderful opportunity for women in our community. So once again, if you would like more information about the Healing House, the New Beginnings, call 417-559-7068, or you can visit thehealinghouseandnewbeginnings.org. And again, they have a Facebook page. Heather, God bless you for all you're doing, not only for these women, but for generations to come from these women. And you're a true testament of your faith. So thank you for joining me, and thank you for being the person that you are.
Thanks.
I look forward to seeing you next time. Good night, and God bless.